Well, hey, New Life, Anthony Gamage here. Wanted to touch base with you and really just send out an email uh, with some resources, essentially for us as a church as we move into the home stretch of at least the election. By no means do I believe this road will be over for any length of time, but my hope is that with the collection of what's here, with some of the other videos that are going to release this week, and hopefully some other um, tools for equipping you, it'll just help as we process this as a church. Been meaning to do this for quite some time. However, God in his providence has just put many things in our path as a church that have been challenging and that have disallowed for it. But Lord willing, we can lean into it a little bit more this week. Attached, you're going to find some resources to the email that at least this video is connected to. It's basically aggregating some things that we've done in the past here as a church. So you'll see the sermon series on politics that we did earlier this year in January on this. You'll also see a great seminar from our leadership retreat from John Eide on this topic. There's also a book that I would commend highly to you by David Platt called Before You Vote. It's just a great help. I know some of you have already voted, so I'm sorry that we missed that. If you haven't yet, this would be a great tool for you, although you may want to grab it in a digital form like on Kindle because of where we are at this late date. But that, and then hopefully if you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our Vimeo channel, I would go Vimeo for this. I'm hoping to do several videos this week on the topic of politics. So anyway, just want to do a little bit of equipping, but as we jump into this, I want to just share a little bit of my story as I have wrestled through politics and my faith in Jesus Christ. Because yes, I'm a pastor, and you probably make some assumptions as I come into this, but I'm also a human. I know that's shocking, but I've had to really wrestle deeply with this topic, and let me just share with you why. And as I tell the story, I want to qualify it and say I'm trying to tell this in a way that paints as positive a light as possible on both sides of this. I'm not making qualitative comments as I talk about what you may hear in my dad's story, for instance, as we move ahead, but simply you hearing from me that I'm struggling just like you are in this election as we see some of the things swirling that we see. So here's my upbringing. I grew up about 3 miles away from a hotbed or a focal point of the moral majority in the Christian Coalition in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia during the 80s and early 90s. And my family campaigned on behalf of a couple of senators and in a gubernatorial race. And so I actually enjoyed some of those elements of my life, and I got to meet some really cool people in doing that. My pastor, who planted the church I was at for the longest time as a child, ran for Senate. And so politics was pretty familiar to me. I also went to a Christian school, and I will just say this is the message that I heard quite a bit, either explicitly or implicitly, but it was essentially this idea that Christians always voted Republican. Now, obviously, that was a narrow view of Christians because, right, I'm a white man, and if you evaluate different Christians who believe the same things about the Bible and Jesus, they had a different take on this. But I will say, in my context, that's what I heard. In fact, the other thing that I heard that it was, at least implicitly, is that it felt impossible to be a Christian and vote for a Democrat. That all got spun on its head in my 20s when, so a little bit of backstory about my dad. He was permanently disabled. It was at the hands of the negligence of a couple of major corporations. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But I got home one summer in my early 20s, and my father, who, again, part of these campaigns and part of the kind of the message that I had heard about who Christians vote for, when I said, yeah, who are you voting for, Dad? Thinking I already knew the answer. And he basically said, I will never vote for a Republican ever again. I was shocked. You can imagine what that did to my paradigm. And as he explained it to me, he said, yeah, I was injured. I tried to seek restitution for those injuries. And because of laws that, and this is his perspective, laws that a Republican House and Senate had put in place to, in his words, protect big business, I'm left with pennies. And my dad died in poverty. And so That impacted me. I didn't know what to do with that. And then as my relational circles expanded, particularly in campus ministry, and particularly as I made friends with people of color, what I found is that predominantly they, followers of Christ, believing the same thing I did, voted in the Democratic direction, and they had the same strong emotions that the people I grew up with had. So I was confused. I was really confused at that point. And so that's led me on a journey that's only been accelerated here in these last 5 years as we've had these two, we'll call them fascinating elections. And so that's just the context in which I'm approaching this, trying to read and look at resources. And as I do it, I want you to know that I'm assuming the best, at least initially, about people on both sides who claim to be Christians, that you're earnestly trying to follow Jesus into these convoluted waters, and you're struggling with the same misinformation, hate, echo chambers in your own hearts that I am, to figure out how to muddle your way through this crazy space. And so, yeah, know that that's my heart. Know that I'm praying for you, and looking forward to joining you here next time as we investigate some of the challenges that we face, some of the tensions that we face, and the constant that we have in Jesus. Thanks for watching.